Hi. So today we are going to be talking about preparing for your video interview. Yes, let me help you to set up your stage so that you can give your best performance and get that coveted Oscar, that offer for your ideal position. So yes, in this case, you are the star of the show and it can be quite nerve-wracking. But there's a few things you can do from your side to have your setup in such a way that it will cause the minimum amount of distractions and make you look and sound the best possible. So let's go through them. First of all, wherever possible, rather do your video interview on your computer than your phone. The functionality on the computer is much better, doing things like screen sharing of documents and just the whole way in which it comes across in terms of professionalism, much, much better on a computer. You want to make sure that you lift your webcam to eye level. So whether you're using an external webcam or the built-in webcam on your computer, make sure that you stack it up on books or something so that it's eye level or even just above eye level. What happens is when the webcam is lower than your eyes and you look down at it, it makes you look like you've got double chins, which you probably don't even have, or amplifies ones if you already have ones. And it also casts strange lights, like when you put a phone light or a candle or anything under your face, it kind of makes you look real weird. So when that light comes from the bottom up onto your face, it casts funny shadows on your face and it really doesn't make you look your best. You also want to make sure that you switch off all notifications on your computer so that you don't have the constant noise coming through of an email arriving or someone contacting you on WhatsApp or any other kind of thing that would cause distractions to you and cause you to lose your train of thought and also be a noise that will bother the interviewers on the other side. You can find that little square block with an arrow to the bottom on the right-hand side as you face your computer. And if you click on that, you can switch off notifications there, or you might even want to do a guest sign-in so that you can sign in with a different account onto your laptop so that all of the things that would normally come through is not available that way. Then you also need to make sure that you have got some backup technology. So although phone or tablet is not first choice, make sure that you do have that available, that should there be any issues on connecting via your computer, that you have got that available to either then continue with a telephonic interview or alternatively, whatever format they would like to use on a phone or a tablet. And then in terms of connectivity, make sure that your Wi-Fi is working properly. Make sure that if this is a video interview from home, that no one is busy streaming something while you are having your interview. You want to have the maximum bandwidth available, and you want to make sure that there's as few interruptions as possible on the connection. But again, also make sure that you've got a backup option, so a cellular connection or something else available in case there is an issue with the Wi-Fi, especially with the power outages in South Africa that sometimes hits quite unexpectedly. You want to make sure there are backup options available. Make sure your computer settings are set to disable sleep or automatic switch off if the screen has been inactive for too long. You certainly don't want to be cut out mid-interview and you need to log back in again. Check your background and check it at the time of day and in the specific situation that you will be setting it up in. So all of these platforms, whether it be Zoom or Teams or Skype, they all have the option where you can go into settings, check your audio, test your visual, and make sure it looks proper. You want to have a background that is suitable for the purpose. So this is an interview. Something like a proper bookshelf is suitable, a fairly clean wall behind you. You certainly don't want your hunting trophies or your wine collection, if you can avoid it, to be in the background because you're not sure of the people who are interviewing you and what their opinion is of that. And you don't want to create any drama where it's not necessary. A while back, I had a video interview with a guy and he had the messiest kitchen ever behind him. And it just created such a sloppy image. And one translates that into and thinks, sure, if that's okay for him for lifestyle and he thinks that okay to talk to even a recruiter like that, what is he going to do when he gets in front of a client? And so the impression is not good. You don't want to even go there. Lighting, extremely important. Good lighting can take 10 years off your face. You need lighting that comes directly onto your face. So if you have the option of sitting in front of a window with lighting even from the front, that is first choice. Otherwise, if you can get a hold of one of these ring lights that casts an even light and a soft light onto the whole face, if that's not an option, put a bedside lamp on your desk just behind your computer or just off to the side where it still puts direct light directly onto the face from the front, or even an over, a standing lamp that could do that. Or even a very inexpensive trick that already goes far is just to put your computer screen light to its maximum so that, again, right from the front, you've got that even light coming onto your face. You don't want to have light from the sides, and in offices, these overhead lights are terrible because of the shadows they cast onto the face. So anything that you can do to actually get you more even lighting from the front onto your face is first choice. Again, 2-3 weeks back, I had a video interview with a guy, and number one, he had his computer at a lower level, so he was looking down into the webcam, and then he had this strange light coming up from the bottom, casting shadows onto his face, and so it made him look like he's got these deep black rings around his eyes. And I was just thinking, if this was an interview with a client, the perception they would have made of him was someone that's very tired or sickly or very low on energy. And whether it's the truth or not, which it wasn't with him, but it seems to look like that, and those first impressions count. So you certainly want to do what you can to look as energetic as possible and as lively as possible. Clothing is also very important. You want to wear clothing that actually contrasts with your background. So if you've got a very light wall behind you, don't wear white. Wear black, wear a color, wear something that stands out a little bit so that it doesn't just become one canvas of gray or white behind you. It creates no interest and it doesn't do much for you. And make sure you dress up properly, top to bottom, not tracksuit pants with a jacket or anything like that. Apart from the fact that it makes you feel like you're there for an interview and makes you step up to the plate, it also, it can come back to bite you. I mean, I saw such a funny post a while back where the recruiter debriefed the candidate after the interview, and she said to him, "Well, what was the most difficult question they asked you?" And he said, "It's when they asked me to stand up." And when he stood up, there he was with his jacket and his tie and his shirt, and then he was only wearing boxers at the bottom. And it really did, come back to bite him. So I don't think they will do that to you, but you want to be ready for whatever. And apart from that, just the way it makes you feel, it's good for your mojo. And then if you can, consider maybe putting in earbuds where you talk with those so that you can lock into the interview and not be distracted by outside noises, whether it be dogs barking or kids shouting in the house or anything else, and that you can remain focused on what you are busy with rather than these other noises and interruptions. Test the software platform that will be used on the day beforehand. There are differences in the way that Zoom versus Skype versus Microsoft Teams versus the Cisco platform or any of the others work. And it's going to take a lot of stress off you if you know how to mute, how to minimize, how to log in and out, how to do screen sharing on that specific platform. It will also save a lot of time that you don't take the first 15 minutes of the interview trying to figure out how to work around the technology. You want to test your sound, microphone and speakers beforehand. So try it with a friend, try it with your recruiter, but make sure all of that is set up properly and works properly with that specific platform. And it's a good idea to record yourself beforehand and listen to some of your answers and pick up for yourself maybe words that you are repeating too much. I know there are certain words that I repeat a lot, like actually and so, and you want to make sure. And I need to pay attention to doing less of that as I am recording and talking. You won't get rid of it completely, but if you're attentive to it, you can speak better. You want to up your energy. Video minimizes energy. So, even as I'm talking to you here, I'm gesturing with my hands and I'm putting some extra energy into it behind the scenes. On your side, it might sound like I'm very calm and collected, but on my side, there's a lot more happening. It does come across when you put that little bit more energy into it and it sounds better. You also want to smile because people can hear it on the other side. Like you can hear now that I'm smiling at the moment. The flip side of that is also true. If you tend to talk too fast or get very giggly when you are nervous, practice that you start speaking a little bit slower and that you also are aware of the fact that you tend to giggle so you can kind of pull yourself back in and stop doing that in the middle of the interview. Otherwise, it seems that you're all over the show. Something that works very powerfully is for you to look straight into the webcam as much as you can, especially when you are talking. Now, I know in these kind of interviews, your eye wants to go where your interviewers are showing. So wherever their pictures are, whether it's to the right, the left, the top, the bottom of your screen, you tend to want to look at them and see how they are responding and reacting to what you are saying. But if you look straight into the webcam when you are talking, it comes across to them as if you are looking them straight into the eye, and it builds a much stronger rapport. So practice that again, that you look into the webcam as much as possible, and then from time to time you can glance up or down or wherever you need to just see their response and their reaction. Obviously, when it becomes their turn to ask something, you will look up to where they are and see what they are asking, and then again when you start speaking, straight into the webcam as much as possible. And lastly, have some water handy. With a long interview, you are bound to need a sip of water somewhere along the line. If you are clumsy and when you get nervous tend to knock things over, take a bottle of water rather than a glass of water, otherwise a glass of water, but just so that you can keep your voice going right through to the end. Now, since you are going to be the main show in this interview, make sure that it's worth their while to have pitched up to come and look at you. So, as you would for any other interview, make sure you prepare your answers. Practice questions, practice answers. Of course, you're not going to know up front exactly what they will ask, but from the scorecard for the position, from the job description, and obviously information you receive from your recruiter, whoever else you worked with on it, there are some things that you can already prepare. So think those out, think what they might ask, and practice your answers. Very few people would do this. And as you familiarize yourself with the kind of phrases and words you would use and how you would explain things, it just becomes much easier to talk into it fluently and easily. On your laptop, make sure that the only things that you have open, apart from obviously the platform that you're using for the interview, is documents essential to this interview. So your resume or your CV, if you needed to prepare a presentation, and we'll talk about work samples a little bit later, but only those documents. You don't want to by accident screen share something that's got nothing to do with the interview, personal information, or something that's confidential to your other workspace. And make sure you know how to screen share those also. Then you can prepare a cheat sheet. And that's something that very few people do. But actually for you to put down notes and keywords on most important examples you would want to refer to in the interview helps so much to set your mind at ease that you are not going to forget to talk into things or mention things that are quite important and then regret it afterwards. So the detail of key relevant projects, the approach that you followed, and then when the question comes up, you will first answer in a high level way, and then you can always offer them the option of showing them a work sample. So, I'm thinking here, for example, in a project management environment, if you prepare a work sample for them on how you approached a specific project that might be very relevant to their work environment, taking out the confidential details, but showing them the logic behind it, the preparation that you did for it, and all the aspects of that. That can be very powerful as a real life example of how you have done those things. And we know that those speak much louder than just your words. So prepare some of those that could be relevant. And then you can ask them, give them the high level and say to them, would you like me to show you what I have done or how I've approached it? And if they are open to that, then you can talk them through that. Just to remember, when you are going to be working through any of these documents on a screen share, you want to scroll slowly and you want to indicate verbally where you are all the time, because they can't control the screen. So they can't linger somewhere to read it in more detail. So you want to make sure you give them enough time that they can look at the information and you don't jump through it too quickly, because you actually know what's going on where. So these things should have you fairly well prepared for a video interview in combination with the notes on a telephonic interview as well as on a normal face-to-face interview preparation. You should then be very ready to ace your interview and get that Oscar.